The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Gimp. And we're going to do a little bit of post-production in Gimp just to highlight what these CAD plans can do in Gimp and how you can use them effectively. Okay, so here I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go and say Open, and I'm going to go to my desktop workshop. I'm going to open up this PDF. Open. Okay, very important. Make sure that your resolution is 300 pixels per inch. This is very important. Leave everything else as it is. And it should understand and recognize the sheet size. If you change this to millimeters, you should see that should be an A4 sheet. That's clever. But remember, pixels per inch, you want 300 dpi. Okay, import. Now, you would notice we've got an A4 sheet and it's pulled in the information of that plan that we've created. Very straightforward. Okay, great. Next step I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this page. I'll explain why, and then filled with, I'm going to change this to white for now. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to move that down to the bottom. Great. Oh, my apologies. I'm going to move the order down to the bottom, and you should see this, my A1 plan above. Remember, at any time you can double click on the layer and you can change that to plan, which is what I want to do. Now, I'm going to click on the plan layer. I'm going to go to color. I'm going to go to color to alpha. Okay, all that I've done, if I switch off the background, I've removed the white background. This is quite effective. This technique is quite effective with a lot of plans from AutoCAD. However, it can be quite destructive depending on how your AutoCAD drawing is set up. So just use this wisely. Okay. All right, I like to work this way just because I like to pull information at the back, but you'll get the idea. Okay, great. All right, so we're going to introduce some materials to this very quickly, and I'm just going to do this very quickly. Okay, so this is just a step-by-step guide. I would like all of you to do this in class. Okay. Now, I'm going to introduce some grass. Remember, transparency. I'm going to add some layers here. Grass. Okay. Press OK. I'm going to move that down to the bottom. So, plan, grass. Put the plan at the top always. There will be some information that we'll put above the plan, but we'll get to that later. I'm going to add a couple more layers. I'm going to call that planting. Add another layer. I'm going to call this brick. And I'm going to add another layer. You can add more layers, but for this exercise, I'm going to leave it just like this. So brick. Add another layer. I'm going to call this paving. Okay, paving. You'll see on the brick layer I'll use different, I'll add a stone layer. But I'll explain that. It's pretty straightforward. So we've got grass, planting, brick, paving, and plan. Okay, good. Now I'm going to give you some access to PNG files that you can use for planting, but remember, you guys can do sketches of plans of trees and color them in, and then make your own library of this information. I've also given you links to visual resources that you can use. Okay, so please take full advantage of that. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is maybe add the grass. Okay, so activate the grass layer. Now, in my files, I'm going to give you these files so that you can access this. So I'm going to go and open up my other workshop layer. Okay, let's quickly open that quickly. Okay, let's keep this open to one side. Okay, workshop 1. So basically, if you go to view and you change this to extra large icons, I've given you this grass layer. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this for now, and I'm going to drag and drop this into Gimp. Okay, so in essence, you would have noticed now it's dropped in this, remember the plan layer is over. It is dropped in this grass layer for me. Okay, now I can merge that down to become part of that grass layer below. That's fine. That's a good option to do, and I'm going to switch this off for the time being. Now, with the plan option on, you'll notice that the grass hatch is quite large, so I'll need to scale that down. Oh yeah, another technique. This is very important, so let me just reset, exit. with this grass layer, so let me explain this. I'm going to leave this grass image for the time being. So just undo what you've done. Keep this grass layer as a separate image for now. Okay, I'll explain why. Let me move it to the one side. Before we use it, we need to scale this image, and you'll notice that it's got that yellow boundary around it, meaning that's the extent of the pixels. Okay, now I'm going to scale this grass layer down until it's more or less the correct resolution. So the actual size of grass, how grass would actually look in this instance. And I'm going to press scale. So I'm resize this layer to the correct scale that grass would be, for example. Now, with this layer selected, you're going to right click on this layer, you're going to go to alpha to selection, and I am now going to go right click, select, and I'm going to shrink. So shrink by 1 pixel, press OK. Then I'm going to go to edit, I'm going to go copy, then I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to go paste as. So what we want to do is paste as a new pattern. So I want to create a whole new grass pattern. So I'm going to call this grass 1. Good. Now you'll notice if you've got your patterns open, if this is not open, okay, you have to have that open. Okay, so if you go to tools, just make sure in here that you have your patterns open. So if you go and find patterns, make sure that it's open here. So here, dockable, you can just make sure that patterns is active. Okay, you can see there it is. Now, this first one is whatever. So if you filter here, this one's the clipboard, and then this one is my actual grass material. If you can see here, grass 1. Good. Now I can delete that layer. Okay, select none. Alright, now I want to paint grass in this area around this whole site. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the quick selection tool, just like that. And then I'm going to, so while the selection tool is active, you'll notice in the mode, this one is only for current selection. So if I select something else, it will lose that other selection. I like this method because if you use Control and Shift, you can add and remove to the selection. So what I am going to do is I'm going to hold Shift down and Control. Remember, Shift adds, Control subtracts. I'm going to start subtracting. I'm going to start subtracting some information from the selection. Okay, and you can see that I can be quite accurate. I want to go into the middle of this. Remember, there's other methods to do this, but I just find that sometimes this is the most hassle-free. Remember, you can get right in. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to use Shift again. So here's another selection I want to do. Press Enter and then hold Shift down again. Control. And I'm going to now add this to my selection. And then take that to there. Good. Enter. Now, with my grass layer active, I'm going to go and use the clone tool, which is this tool over here, clone tool. And you notice you can clone part of an image, or you can use it to paint grass. Okay, now you can go and pick the type of paintbrush that you want. Okay, I'm going to make the paintbrush quite large. Now I can simply paint around. So you can do that. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Or you can use the fill tool. Maybe I'm going to do that, and you can see I can pick a pattern. I can simply drop it in. Do it again and again. Just remember, if I paint it, it creates that white edge. So let me just click delete again. Delete just deletes all that I've done, but I can use the paint tool and drop it in again. So now you can see I've got a nice grass edge around the site. I'm happy with the results. Select none. Okay. So I'm happy with that. So that's grass. Planting. So I'm going to use a little tree. I'm going to pull in a little tree for this. So I'm going to go to my library and what I've given you. You guys can pick whatever one you want to use. I'm going to use this little tree over here, drag and drop it into my file. Good. you can see I can use the move tool and it's put it on its own layer. I can move this. Remember, I can change its order. I want this to form part of the planting layer. I'll do that in a second. So I'm just going to move this, drop your plant in, scale it. Control will scale around the middle. And then I'm going to say scale. Now, if this plant is a bit dull, what you can do is you can duplicate this layer. Okay, so if you go to duplicate layer, duplicate, you'll see it gets darker. And then if you merge the layer down, and down again, it's now part of my planting layer. Remember, please add all the plants first in before you merge them down, but don't worry if you make a mistake, you'll get the hang of this. Okay, so that's my planting. So there's my plant, I've got some grass in. Okay, so we're going to fine tune this information later. The next thing I'm going to do is select the brick. I'm now going to select all the brick areas. Okay, so I'm going to use my quick selection tool. I'm going to use that, and control and shift, remember, control and shift, so shift to add that. Now with the selection, what I like to do, once everything's selected, I like to grow the selection by 1 pixel. You just get a better result. You see it pulls it into the object a bit more. Okay, so that's the first bit of brickwork. Go and find a color that you would like to use as brickwork. Remember, at any time you can replace this color, so don't worry if it's not 100% correct now, and please make mistakes. This is what this workshop's about. It's about refining these techniques. Remember, you can use that pattern tool that I used earlier to create something similar. Okay, so I'm going to find a nice color that I can work with. And you can go online and find these types of patterns, totally up to you. But I like to use a red. Okay, brickwork is typically red, and you'll see in my template file where we kind of get that color. Okay, so you can add colors, you can keep adding colors to this palettes. Alright, so this is quite neat. You can build your own palette selection, so you can keep adding colors over here, by the way. You can see every time I add colors, I can keep building these up. I'll teach you how to use that a bit better, but that's a good color for now. But remember, at any stage you can go and change this. So I'm going to drag and drop this in. Sorry, I'm going to use the fill tool, and I'm going to use fill. Just remember that you're going to say fill whole selection area. So you can use that. It will fill with foreground color, that's background color. Foreground, background. Good. Select none. You can also use sample merged, but yeah, I prefer to use this method. Good. Now I've got a bit of stonework in here. I'm just going to change color for this, but I'm going to leave it on masonry. So I'm going to go selection grow. Remember, this preset, it's straightforward. I'm going to change this to more of a brown color. So let's just go to, that'll work for me. So drag and drop that. Oh, sorry, that doesn't work while Karnak's working. It's a bit of a problem. That doesn't change much, but that's fine. And I'm going to go and change this brick paving around here. So let's go and find a nice color for that. So like a nice edging detail. So let's go and find a color for that. Remember, you guys can pick all kinds of colors for this. So I might pick a nice brown. Okay, you can get Pantone colors, totally up to you. So I'm going to use the selection tool. Now you might have to click and hold down the selection tool. You see how it selects everything. So click and hold and drag in a direction. So let's do that again. There we go. So remember, shift, I'm going to select more here, select more there, select more there. I'm not going to spend too much. I'm going to do this quite quickly. Control Z, sorry, that went a bit far. Control Z will undo. Good. Click and hold, drag. That's fine. Good. I'm going to drag. Sorry, that doesn't work. I keep on forgetting Karnak. It's annoying. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with those results. Select none. Good. So there's my little brick. I'm going to do my paving. So let's just grab the paving layer. So let's just select the paving layer. Let's make this like a gray concrete. Remember, at all times you guys can use different types. So I'm just doing this quickly just to highlight the workflow. Press OK. I'll do the timber benches as well. Again, I'm going to use this quick selection tool. Remember, shift. Good. Select none. There's quite a neat way to fix this as well. You can just use the paintbrush tool now. Paintbrush tool, and I can quickly paint over just these areas here where it didn't quite fill, so that's quite neat. That's quite common, so just fill that up quickly, touch that up. Then you'll see you'll have some, undo. You can have these little spots in here that you'll need to go and touch up. Okay, again, I'll leave the benches for now. I just want you guys to practice this workflow. Remember, shift, hold down shift, hold down shift. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, select none, good. And I'm going to go in here, select none. Okay, we're going to put some gravel in here. I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to use the selection tool again, so come on, there we go, hold shift down, good. Okay, you can see to put these images together won't take you too much time. Guys, you can play around. I'm not expecting masterpieces in tomorrow's workshop. I just want you guys to get used to this workflow, okay? Okay, that's going to be brick as well. Now, if you've used the color, you want to use the color again, remember, if you go to this selection tool, you can go and use the pick tool. So that's available, so that's quite handy. Good. Okay, I'm going to leave the benches white for now because I think it's enough. I've got the grass showing, so I've got some planting. Okay, so the planting layer needs to go to the top. You can actually put it above the plan, so you can see how that works nicely. Plan, paving. Okay, now I just need to add some water and there's a bit of paving there as well. So let's switch up my plants for now. Planting. Okay, let's just grab this bit over here, select it, click on this color, use the pick tool, and then press OK, and then just bang. Done. Select none. Okay, so I've got some images I'm going to use for the planting for now. That can be a bin, or you can decide. This will be a bit of planting. So now I'm just going to use some images. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my images again. So here I'm going to drag in this image, move it. This image I can actually scale and then just trim what I don't need and keep it that layer as gravel. So I might just put that into there. So this, look, there's lots of different techniques to do this. So you're going to have to find something that works for you. Okay, so I'm going to do it just like that. I'm going to go to, that's fine, scale. That'll go in my planter. And that I'm going to, this I can use, I'll explain, I can use the crop tool for this layer, this gravel. And you can rename that, rename. But I'll do that in a minute. So I'm going to go crop, remember, crop only layer. So with this layer active, I'm going to go crop that. Good. That's how you get rid of redundant pixels, save yourself a bit of space. You can play with the occupancy to make it slightly, okay. It's just to kind of give that effect of there's a bit of planting in there. I can switch my plants on, I can make that semi-translucent. Oops, leave that as is. And the planting I can make semi-translucent, so if I want to see stuff in the background. So you can get that effect. Okay, totally up to you. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. All I want to do is add my water. Okay, that's going to be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go back to my layer. So in my folder, I'm going to drag and drop my water in. With my water layer, this will be underneath the plan, for example. So move that down beneath the plan. Good. I'm going to move this. And I'm going to use the scale tool. Okay, I want to scale this just like that. I'm going to move this in this direction. I'm happy with that. Good. Now, press scale. All I need to do now is get rid of the redundant pixels. So I'm going to use the quick select tool. So I'm going to select in here. Remember to add to the selection, press enter. Then it's shift on your keyboard. So this is water. Good. Now I'm going to use Control because I'm going to remove this part of the selection because that shouldn't be part of that. That's separate. Now I'm going to use Shift again to add. So Enter, Shift. I'm going to add something here. So let's just add this to the selection. And you can be very accurate with this, by the way. If you're starting to use organic tools, you have to use different workflows, but I'm just, just remember this is kind of just to give you, okay, good. Let's go back in that direction, just like that. Now, all I'm going to do, press Enter. I'm going to right click on the selection. I'm going to go invert and I'm going to press remember water layer and I'm going to delete. Select none. Good. I'm very happy with these results. I can click on my water layer. I can double click on my water layer and just call that water. Good. Likewise with gravel. Let's get rid of that JPEG. Good. Now I've got a very quick plan that I've taken from AutoCAD and I've added some color and texture to. Remember, any of these layers you can go and add further techniques to. You can make them look okay, but you can see this works really well. Very quick to do. Okay. Now you can go and refine these layers. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop the whole image. Okay, so I'm going to crop the whole image. This time I'm going to untick this current layer. I'm going to crop the whole image. And I'm going to crop some content. Now what's important about this, we want to get the correct size. So here I'm going to change pixels to millimeters so I know when I pull this into Inkscape, I know exactly what's going on. I'm going to make this 200 by 140. Okay. Now I can move the crop selection. You can see the size is preset and I'm going to click. Now this image is exactly 200 by 140 there. Just remember it's pixels as well, so not exactly, but in essence when you pull this information into Inkscape it should come in exactly at the right size. Okay, now with this image I'm going to export this. I'm going to go File, Export As, and I'm going to export this as a File, Export As. I'm going to export this as a JPEG. I'm going to put this on my desktop, A4 plan. I'm going to call this, it's an image. I'm going to go export. Good. Yes, export. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this now. Just remember at any stage if you want to keep working on this, save this, go File, Save As, so you can keep adding to this. You're going to save this as an Inkscape file. I'm going to put this there as well, Workshop. I'm going to put this in this folder. Good. There it is. So if I need to edit this again, I can come back and edit it. Okay, but basically, I'm done. I'm going to close this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my exported JPEG. Open. All that I'm going to do, I'm not going to change anything dramatic. I'm just going to make this a black and white. So I'm going to desaturate this, desaturate, and in the desaturation, I can play with the color balance just to get that a bit better. Curves. So here I can play with the color balance just to make it a bit sharper, legible. That's good. Press OK. And now I'm going to export this again. Export as, I'm going to call this BW, black and white. Okay. I'll explain what we're going to do. So I'm going to export this just like this. Export. Good. Now we're done. The scar changes.